What's going on, guys? Welcome to the show. Welcome back to another episode of Action Movie Anatomy. We are here. It is Wednesday, and it's a huge day for us. We've got a very special guest in-house coming back after literally 2 years in prison. We'll see you guys in just 1 second.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Action Movie Anatomy.
Boo! Yes!
Oh, you like that music, don't you? There's a couple people listening to this all over the world right now.
All over the world. Fantastic. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the show. Welcome back. It's Action Movie Anatomy here on the Popcorn Talk Network.
Jay-Z wrote the song.
Yeah, did he really?
Yeah, for Jay.
Oh.
He wrote a little known fact. He wrote something that was all about like diamonds and money. And Dre's like, that's not really me. He went back 20 minutes later and wrote this whole thing in like 20 minutes.
Really?
Yeah, 100%.
That's
It's
cool.
funny that it's about diamonds and money, and Dre was like, nah.
Yeah. Nah.
Seems appropriate.
He needed like 6'4s, sticky green and bad traffic stuff.
Yeah, right.
I'm sorry that I've been slightly distracted. I've actually just been uploading this video for us that we shot for a little promo for our
guys
match
just
in the Schmodown
Can't see no
today.
reason
Just
why
have a
not.
little bit of patience here, guys. It'll all pay off in the end. So, guys, what's going on? It's the Popcorn Talk Network, online broadcast network dedicated to talking movies, pop culture by the bucketful. We're here chatting a little bit about First Blood, and Finstock was not actually in prison for 2 years. He just was a guest on the show 2 years ago doing First Blood Part 2, and now he's back for the OG. What's up, man?
Hey, man, I'm just happy to be here with a bunch of winners,
Yes.
You
That's
guys are
right.
doing really well in the Schmodown.
Thanks, man.
Man, we like to base our model off of champions.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Taking it by storm, man.
We feel that, this is like generals before battle. We can talk to you. We know that inevitably we're going to have to take down the Patriots. And,
Yeah.
We specifically did not have JTE on the show today like we did originally because it just would have been, I don't think anyone else would have walked out of here alive.
That's true. I mean, look, world leaders talk all the time, and 2 days later they go to war. It is what it is. They're not fighting each other.
No.
It's their people fighting each other.
Right.
So it is what it is, and that's where we're at with this movie as well.
We have nothing but respect for you.
That's right.
So, guys, we're here to talk about First Blood. We talk action movies on this show. As action movies adhere to 4 basic rules. Those rules are rule number 1, the hero always plays by their own rules. And definitely, Mr. John Rambo, John J., definitely plays by his own rules. He's one of the OG guys that play by their own rules, I would say.
He's definitely the original own rule player.
Yes, the own rule player.
Yeah, I like
rule,
that phrasing.
Rule number 2, the hero and the villain are always the smartest people, beings, things, dinosaurs, whatever's in the room. I think... John's definitely the smartest guy on his side. Dennehy's pretty dumb. They don't really have a villain that's the smartest guy in the room in this movie.
Yeah, it's interesting because Dennehy is kind of dumb. He's just kind of like a small town cop who's kind of caught over his
he's
head.
washed up. He was in the Korean War, and
Right.
he had a vendetta against Rambo. He considers that the real war.
Right, and then he's got this chip on his shoulders. His ego gets in the way.
Right.
The whole movie.
Yeah. Rule number 3, the movie is driven by police, military, political, or mercenary figure. Definitely. Yeah. John Rambo.
Absolutely.
He's all military. And rule number 4, the movie contains a minimum of 1 explosion. Definitely. Yeah. Lots of explosions
There's
in this
a ton.
movie.
Yeah, totally. It hits all the bases. I mean, this is one of the movies that it's funny because we always talked about Rambo First Blood Part 2 is one of the original films that we should cover on this show because it felt correct. And I actually hadn't remembered First Blood that well. And even when you and I watched the other day, I had said, I've only seen this movie like once or twice.
Yeah.
And then about halfway through, I was like, I've seen this movie like 10 times.
Yeah, right.
And
It's brilliant.
It's fantastic. It's incredible. But it wasn't the original formula for the show. It was like we were specifically like, we need to go to First Blood Part 2.
Yeah.
Because Rambo or
Right.
First Blood is just a drama.
It's the same thing that goes along like how Rocky. Not a lot of people really like the Rocky one as much as they like Rocky 2, 3, 4 because there's more theatrics in those movies. But and same thing with Rambo 2 and 3. It's there's so much blowing up stuff in Rambo 2 and 3 and Rocky 2, 3 or I should say 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah.
It's so much like theatrics and montages and things like that. First Blood and Rocky are virtually the same in a lot of ways. It's storytelling for the most part. Other than, like I said, the theatrics are blowing every single thing up.
Yeah, well, I definitely think that this movie feels less like a drama than I remembered it to be thinking about it, but much more like a drama than all the other ones you're talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure. And then, like, I know we'll probably get into this in a little bit of discussion. You guys can just tell me to stop so we can get in the trailer. But I have a question about that, and I want to get into it maybe afterwards, and why these franchises turned into such action classics.
Yeah.
When both of the original standalone films, Rocky and First Blood, weren't supposed to be franchise films.
Right.
They're supposed to be First Blood and
Correct.
Rocky, and we're done. And they both evolved in this crazy action, like, spectacular types of movies when they were just dramas.
Yeah. And my thesis actually has something kind of to do with that as well. So we'll kind of get to that in a little bit. But guys, if you want to follow along in the conversation, or just want to remind everybody here, you can find me personally at Ben Bateman Media.
You guys can find me at Andrew Ghai on Instagram and Twitter, and you can find our Facebook fan page, the Action Movie Anatomy fan page on Facebook.
And also, the kind fans of the Schmoes Know have started us an actual fan page just for Team Action. They call it the Action Army. It's been alive for like 2 weeks, and it has like
pretty
400
amazing.
people in it.
Yeah, it's been absolutely incredible. You guys' support is amazing, and I'm sure, Mr. Finstock, you understand what that's like.
Yeah, I mean, look, these fans are they're great, and we need more of them.
Yeah.
I think we deliver a great brand. The show is fantastic. I think we're going to get a lot more celebrities on there to boost the ratings. And, you know, I think in the coming years, we're going to see some really cool stuff happening in Schmoedown, for sure.
Big time.
Yeah,
Where
we
can folks
had-
find you if they want to follow along with you?
At Bob Finstock across the board.
Rousing.
Yeah.
Rousing, exciting.
Let's get
Across
into
the
things.
bird.
Let's get into things here, guys. First and foremost, we're going to watch this trailer, the trailer for First Blood. But
Can we
this
comment
is-
on it?
Of
Yeah,
course,
yeah, talk
please
over
do.
it, yeah. 82. It's like, you know.
That jacket is fantastic.
Yeah, it's good. I assume you probably owned a replica. Stallone's like
I have one.
John Rambo, a drifter, just passing through their town.
Is he a drifter?
Is he your favorite person in the history of America? Slide?
In the history
Headed
of the
north
whole
or
world, I would say, yeah.
Yeah,
North.
you're the biggest fan.
Yes.
I'll jump in.
All he wanted was
I'll make
some
sure you
meat.
head in the right direction.
Why are you pushing me?
Yeah, it's like,
You got someplace I can eat around here?
There's a diner about 30 miles up the highway.
Is there any law against me getting something here?
Yeah, me.
he's a vagrant.
I want you to book this gentleman for
I love
vagrancy, resisting
He's
He's
great.
fantastic in this.
Yeah, he's
carrying a concealed
He's
weapon.
really good as John Wayne
They knew
Gacy,
he
too, in
was
that TV
innocent.
movie they did.
Starting to dislike you. A lot.
Caruso has just always been
They
the worst
didn't
actor
give a
ever.
damn.
Yeah. I think Caruso knew right off the gate that who they were dealing with.
Right.
And nobody else did.
Of course.
Once you see those scars, you're like, okay.
John Rambo, one man who's been pushed too far. You're finished! You've gone as far as you're gonna go! Heading straight for the top.
Yeah.
Right on top. There's no way out of here except through
Rambo
us.
killed a buffalo in this
Hunted,
with like a
trapped,
homemade spear. It's great.
and forced to fight back.
Don't push it.
Brilliant.
Don't push it. I'll give you a war you won't believe.
He could have murdered Dennehy like 7 times in this movie.
And he never does.
Nope.
Spoiler alert.
Yep.
Because God knows what damage he's prepared to do.
You don't
Oh,
seem
gas
to
was
want to accept
89
the fact
cents
that
a
you're
gallon.
dealing with an expert in guerrilla warfare.
Best.
Are you telling me that 200 men against your boy
Billy
is a
Goat
no-win
puke.
situation for us?
So good.
Send that money. Don't forget one thing.
He did 200 body bags.
A good supply of body
Bags.
Sylvester Stallone. This time, he's fighting for his life. First Blood.
First blood.
It's
Brilliant.
kind of shocking the number of like the lack of the actual saying the name Sylvester out loud that I feel like has happened in his career. Like,
Yeah, he doesn't
I've-
go with it.
I've referred to him as Sly or just Stallone.
Stallone.
Like my whole life.
Well, it's because Sylvester's kind of a bitch name. Like, no offense to anyone named
it's-
Sylvester.
yeah,
it's
it's
a
a tough
great
one.
name. It's
a tough one.
It's a tough name to make sound like a hardcore dude. You who kick my ass? Sylvester.
That guy's Sylvester. Like,
I don't know where his mom came up with that, because I mean his brother's name is Frank.
yeah.
And
Right.
It's one of the most common names in American history.
Oh, you know what? So is Sylvester Stallone your favorite guy of all time, or is Frank Stallone your? Because I feel like you, love Frank
you do love
Stallone.
yourself.
I've
some
had
Frank Stallone.
I've had more interactions with Frank in real
Yeah.
life. I can't get too close to Sly. He's got too many people around him.
Yeah.
Frank is totally
And,
accessible
also
on
a
every
restraining
angle.
order.
Yes, Frank is totally accessible. I've hung around with Frank numerous times. He's such a bitter, crazy person, though.
Is he?
Yeah, dude. He's always talking about guns and making
Killing.
America great again.
Okay.
A lot of crazy stuff. But he's pretty amazing. I saw him the other day in a restaurant. They didn't give him a seat quick enough, and he went bananas and took off.
Amazing.
Frank Stallone.
Yeah.
So, guys, that is the trailer for First Blood. We are going to get straight into the show. But before we do, I should tease you guys on what's going on the episode today. We're going to talk a little bit about favorite line, thesis statement, fist bump moment. We're going to have a conversation. Is Sylvester Stallone overrated, underrated, or properly rated? What is the most underrated Sylvester Stallone film? These are all questions we're going to answer today on the show. So let's get straight into thesis statement and start the show out strong.
I'm going to go first.
Yeah, you guys go first.
But go say what thesis is real quick.
So yeah, thesis statement, guys, if you are listening or watching for the very first time, is a big, bold thought, a strong opinion you have about the movie, maybe somebody in the movie, their career. It should never be something loose like, this is my favorite Sylvester Stallone movie. It should be something you really feel is fact, and almost like rooted in hyperbole, big and bold, something you'd defend at a party if the movie came up. You'd really be able to like lead the conversation, you feel. That's what thesis statement is. So go ahead.
Yeah, so I was excited because, I don't know how often you watch our show. I'm sure you watch often.
Yes.
But Ben and I don't get to watch movies together that regularly anymore because we're so busy. And throughout this movie, we were drinking, and it was just like I hadn't seen this movie in so long. It was amazing. I was consistently fist pumping and like coming up with new thesis. And I have 3 today. The first one is very light, and it's just that this is the only time that a dog gets killed in a movie, and you're like, yes.
Yeah.
Because I always hate when dogs get killed in movies, but you're like,
Right.
what are you doing, man?
Yeah.
Don't send that dog in there.
send that
This is
dog
on you. The second
little
one is
crazy
that
guy.
Rambo has the 2 greatest hero qualifiers of all time in any film, and they are both supplied by one actor, and that's Richard Crenna.
Yeah.
Which I love them. They're so great. And in the second movie.
Yeah, it's the best.
It's so
Yes.
good. And then my last one I was thinking about in the shower this morning was that this movie is literally The Hunted. The Hunted copied this movie. They're both shot in Oregon. They're
Yeah.
both like washed up, old like killing machines. Their old trainer has to come in, except the only thing they did different in The Hunted is they combined Dennehy and Crenna into one character and Tommy Lee Jones
TLJ.
and made him the protagonist.
You're like the biggest fan of The Hunted.
I just
that's
want to
alive.
do it on the show.
We put it to vote several times.
And it always loses.
Never wins.
So nothing got blown up in the Hunted at all? Because that's the criteria, right? At
No,
least
there
one thing?
were there's explosions in the very beginning, but it's
yeah.
just people just I don't think know
when
the movie well
Benicio,
enough.
when they're doing the Benicio flashback.
Yeah,
when he's in
yeah,
war.
yeah.
I watched like the first 20 minutes of it. And then I
Yeah,
turned
you were
it
like
off.
I couldn't do it.
do it.
They
God
want,
damn it,
yeah,
Ben.
they want that action label. I'll go with mine.
Okay, go ahead.
I think this is one of the realest depictions of how America treated vets when they came back from Vietnam. They treated them like shit. Pretty much everybody across the board did. Jane Fonda leading the charge. Now, I was speaking earlier about it where, look, they're just following orders, period. And that's what Stallone is saying this whole time. He comes back, he's got long hair, he's got a couple of tattoos, he's unshaven. Back in the 70s and stuff like that, it was a disco era. You were considered a scumbag at that point. And it's sad, and it's sad, and it really depicts it. And I was like, I don't care what Rambo does. I don't care if he blows up this whole town. I want him to win, period.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I'm way too young to really relate to what's going on with the Vietnam War, but I do know through film and everything that we've read in school and studies we've done afterwards that like these poor guys.
Yeah.
Talk about going and getting your ass kicked for so long.
Poor literally, too. They
Yeah.
pick them right out of the streets.
And not knowing why you're there, when you're there and not knowing what you're doing, knowing that you're losing, knowing you don't have support back home, and then coming home and getting shit on by everyone that you were fighting for.
Absolutely.
It is just heartbreaking to think about, which is why the end of this movie is so powerful.
Yep, and Nam movies are my favorite kind of war movie. People like World War I, World War II, Korean, whatever, these Civil War things and things like that. The Vietnam War depiction movies are my favorite because I think they're the realest, and they're mostly written by like people who experienced it.
Yeah,
and that's why they're
yeah.
my favorite.
Like Nick Nolte in Tropic
right.
Thunder.
Absolutely. He's fantastic. 100%.
Good Morning Vietnam is one of my absolute
Good
favorite
Morning
films.
Vietnam.
Yeah.
You look at Apocalypse Now. I mean, you got Casualties of War.
Yeah.
Tons of movies that are just real, and you got scumbags there, and you got some real nice guys.
Yeah.
Casualties
is
of
what
War
it
is
is.
same director, right? Ted Kotcheff?
No, he did Uncommon Valor.
That's the one, Uncommon
Yeah.
Valor. Wait, Uncommon Valor is which is the one with Swayze and Hackman? Is that Uncommon Valor? Or is
Yes,
that-
I'm pretty sure that is, yes.
Yeah, okay. I've
Because
seen that one.
Hackman wanted to be in Rambo.
Casualties of War is the Sean Penn one?
Yes, with
Yeah.
Michael J. Fox.
Yeah. That's right.
I need
Yeah,
to
I
do
was
some more studying. I don't know anything about these movies.
Yeah.
The Swayze one's awful. Uncommon Valor is a bad movie.
It's not great. No.
That's why you know of it.
I've
Swayze.
only watched it because of Swayze.
All right, so I think we got kind of like my surface ones that are kind of fun. This is like a really deep, like true speaking on the social issues of the movie. What do you got?
This is my thesis statement. I've been thinking about this all morning, and I was struggling to come up with one that I really believed in. First Blood and Rocky are proof that Sly Stallone had the most accidental action hero career of anybody at his level ever to live.
Because you think he was supposed to be a dramatic actor in his mind.
He wanted to be a dramatic actor, and not only that, but the two films we're talking about were both made to be standalone drama pieces in an era in his career when he was really still making those movies. They talk about this movie as the movie that saved his career because so he made Rocky in '76, and prior to that, he had a few credits. He made those
Is Rocky
like Cannonball
3 what comes after this?
Yes. This
Rocky
this
3's
actually
the same year
held
as
this actually held Rocky 3 production back a couple of months because they went over budget like terribly.
This is the same year as Rocky 3.
Yes, it is.
But what happened is he made this movie, and this movie saved his career because this was the first hit that he had. Rocky 2 was not really a hit. In a lot of ways, Rocky 2 did fine.
Because he was playing Rocky again.
Yeah, it did fine, but people didn't really want just another... And as you said, Rocky 2 is much more of a dramatic film.
Right.
Rocky 3, the tone totally changes.
Oh, yeah. It's comical.
By 1982, the success of this film paired with Rocky 3, he completely embraced the fact that, all right, like, I'm going to be able to be successful at playing these two characters for the next decade. Yeah. And that's pretty much what he proceeded to do. He made 3 more Rocky films. He made another Rambo film. He made another Rocky films later in his career, and another Rambo film later in his career.
And I think when you and I were, we've talked extensively about Stallone's career, and I'd love to have you touch on this, is you saw that once he kind of reached that level of stardom where he could do no wrong, he tried to do anything but action.
Yeah.
And he kind of failed
Rhinestone.
doing that. Yeah. And I think that was kind of a... him going back to his roots and being like, yo, this is what I really want to do, and now that I have the money and the credibility to do it, and then it kind of fell apart.
It brought him back. I mean, he was gone for a while.
Yeah.
You couldn't hire him. He was like Spy Kids, and he was in like Driven and Angelo's Revenge or something like
Avenging
that.
Angelo.
Yeah, he really, he couldn't do anything. What brought him back on the thing again was Rocky, and then it opened the door for Expendables.
Yeah.
The Rambo movie that was in 08 or something like that.
Awesome. By
Great,
the way.
carnage galore.
It's so violent.
Wow.
So gnarly.
Yeah.
They're killing kids, dogs, snakes, blowing people's heads off. It's crazy town.
Well, that was the thing is that it's so interesting, and I know this is just going on a tangent, but the thing about Rambo 08 is that they did all those really fucked up things you saw in the late 70s and early 80s in movies, but they just modernized it, and we're so not used to seeing that whole kids getting raped, women getting raped, captivity, like dudes getting cut in half, torture, people getting blood. But it was like that was the thing, and that's why the movie, for all of us traditional action movies fans, you go and watch that, you're like, Jesus, this is brutal, but it's perfect.
I saw it in theaters,
sick.
and that movie's intense. That movie's really intense.
That was one of the only movies in a long time where people were actually getting up and clapping.
Really?
Yeah.
And screaming because it was so badass. When he came out and hit those dudes with the crossbow. And he killed 3 people in 2.5 seconds with a crossbow. It's like Lee Harvey Oswald style. He's like boom, boom, boom.
It's also 08's the period of Stallone's career where you really see the HGH. He has 17.
Oh yeah.
He has 17 abs. He couldn't get just a legitimate 6-pack anymore.
Yeah.
It's the weird
they're on
thin,
his back
long,
now.
flat
Yeah,
ones.
they're on his back now. His abs they're on his back.
Yeah. He's now he's too old to do it. But that was
so many veins.
That was
it's
a period
crazy.
where he was like, I'm gonna go full HGH and just this is all speculation. But
no. Yeah. Obviously.
This is full speculation. It's
Obviously.
true.
Yeah. So that's thesis statement, guys. Share your thesis statements in the chat. Let's continue with the show here. Next up, we've got a fist pump moment. And what the fuck is this movie about? If it isn't about fist pump moments.
Yes.
So fist pump moments, that moment, guys. You're watching the film, something happens, you look around, you're like, are you seeing this right now? This is so awesome. I get to watch the rest of this movie. It's a literal there is more of this in front of me. Yes! You want to call someone and tell them how excited you are.
And the best is when you're watching it with your friend or with someone that's never seen the movie before, and you both kind of look at each other. I watched Guardians with this girl that I'm seeing, and last night was the first time she'd ever seen it.
Yeah.
And there's so many moments in that movie where you're just like, fuck yeah.
The first Guardians?
Yeah, and it's the same with this Rambo, and you and I shared one.
Yeah.
Is that yours? Is that what you're going to use?
I got one. I wonder if we're all on the same page, but there's so many. But
Let's let our guest go first.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Mine is, which was just, it's a build-up.
Right.
I don't fist pump right away. I need to build up the fist pump.
Gotta earn that shit.
So it's when he hijacks the army vehicle.
Right.
from the kid, throws him out. He's like, look,
Yeah.
get out of here. What's your name? He asks.
Yeah.
He's nice.
Yeah,
he asks him his name.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, he's like, you're gonna have to get out.
Yeah.
Just jump out, or I'm gonna throw you out. Either one.
Yeah.
Sure enough, he gets him out of there. Then he's racing cop cars. But when they put up when he busts through that roadblock, and then you hear the music, and the car's like bouncing everywhere. That's when I'm like fully invested. I'm like, please blow up the world. Please do it.
Yeah.
I love that, and I'm going to jump on because mine is going to piggyback off that because you're right. You needed it to be earned. You're such a huge fan. For me, it was like I haven't seen this movie in so long, and it was like. I always have a hard time buying in on older movies. I watched The Hustler yesterday, which I loved.
Did you love it?
I absolutely loved it, and it didn't take me any time to buy in. But anything that comes out before the 90s,
Is that Jackie Gleason?
Yeah, so good.
How good is Newman? Right, just like,
Everyone's so good.
Yep.
What's the third guy's name? I did a lot of research on him.
It's way better than the Color
the
Money.
guy that plays Bert.
I don't remember.
He's been nominated for like 8 Oscars. He refused to get nominated for The Hustler, and he turned down when he won for Patton or Platoon. I can't
Burt
remember.
Lancaster?
No. He's got a.
Are you talking about George T. Scott?
Yeah, George T.
George T. Scott. There you go.
He's in that.
Yeah. Anyway, so my fist pump, it's the same thing with the music, but it's when he busts out of the jail for the first time.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
when he comes out, you and I looked at each other, we're just like, yes,
Yeah.
the music and when he's going, and it was just,
He busted that guy's nose for real too.
yeah. Oh, did he?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's
Why he was
great.
wearing the Band-Aid the whole time. They're like, can't do anything about it.
I just read that in Gangs of New York, Leo broke D-Day Lou's nose, and they just didn't even cut when he punched him. They just kept going because D-Day Lou was such a savage.
Such a savage.
But yeah,
is.
so my original fist pump is when he busts out of the prison for the first time. The music comes on. It's the first time you really hear the Rambo music in full effect. The next time I think is when you're talking about it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, here we go. I'm
Right.
fully
He
invested,
jumps on the
all
bike.
in.
It's cold. He clotheslines a dude off it.
Yeah.
He's nice to civilians, Rambo.
Yeah,
you know
of
what I
course.
mean? He always never has a problem with it. And like I was saying earlier, Caruso knows that this guy is nothing to fuck with.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
see, that's the
But
only,
everybody else is.
That's the only moment of Caruso being great in this film is the first look in his eyes when he sees his back, and everyone else
Yeah.
is like, "Brr,"
And then he's
whatever.
like, he's a Purple Heart, whatever. And he's like,
Yeah.
I knew it.
Yeah. I knew it.
Yeah.
Put me on NYPD.
He's like, that's my buddy Galt on the ground right now. He's like, he was my buddy when your mom had a twinkle in her eye, something like that.
So my fist pump, and I'm surprised it wasn't either of yours.
I am too.
Say what?
I am too. I thought we had the same.
No,
I'm curious.
I mean, I love a lot of this movie,
Yeah.
but for me, the fist bump moment is no question. It's the Richard Crenna hero qualifier. It's how could it not be? It
Yeah.
starts with God didn't make Rambo, I did, and then I trained him, I recruited him. I think that makes him mine.
Yeah,
And
it's like I commanded for 3 years. I think that makes him mine.
yeah. And it's just I didn't come here to save Rambo from you. I came to save you from, or him. From
Oh yeah,
you.
I didn't come here to reduce him. I came here to rescue you from him.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
We're
Yeah.
all very concerned here. Yeah. And he's just
I like that fist pump moment. It's
Yeah,
different.
it's
you know,
so
it's
good.
a different way of thinking about it. Yeah, I mean, there's ways where dialogue can propel a fist pump.
Oh, it's
no
just
question.
it's just so exciting when he's giving the explanation. You don't want to seem to accept the fact that you're dealing with an expert.
It's
the best to
It's a
kill.
speech. Yeah.
yeah, that's really
Me-
good.
In whole.
Yeah.
Eat things that make a billy goat puke.
Yeah, he's the best with knives, with guns, with his bare hands.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, you're fucked. You
Yeah.
guys are all fucked. There's
Yeah.
no way you're gonna win. 200 guys versus one. Like he literally says, if we send 200 guys after him, what's gonna happen? Bring a lot of body bags.
Body
Like,
bags, period.
It's your classic one man against the world story. But like this movie's just dramatic enough.
Totally, and like the things that he says, and like the conviction, he totally believes it. It's like I'm sitting there as an audience member. I'm like, I bet he could kill 200 people.
Yeah, you're like
Yeah.
he's the ultimate badass. There's no way that anybody could
Right.
stop
And
this
he
guy.
knew he knew Rambo was alive when those volunteer army guys came out, whatever they're called.
Yeah.
They came out and shooting rocket launchers into things, and he hears like a little like pebble move, and he's like,
Yeah.
he's still alive.
He's still alive. Crenna knows.
He goes, these jokers are not killing this machine.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Crenna's just so good in that
I
role.
know. I wanted to almost make a thesis about Crenna being the strongest part of the film because
Yeah.
you think it's Stallone and you think it's Dennehy, but like Crenna's like the perfect sauce to mix the two of them.
Totally.
That makes all three of them be perfect. I don't think that anyone makes this movie more successful than anyone else. I just don't think that anyone.
True.
Like no one could be missing
This
from
was
this film.
true.
Yeah.
This was a 3.5 hour movie at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was terrible. Stallone tried to buy back the negatives, all these other things.
Yeah.
But he went with something where, because there was a lot of Stallone, a lot of flashbacks, and when he's saying like that shoe shine thing, that was an actual scene.
Yeah.
And they cut it out because it was just too much. But I mean, why not just say it? Sometimes it's like
You're talking
more
about the story that he tells. Yeah, they
Right,
literally
right.
filmed all of it.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
And he was supposed to die at the end. I mean, look, this guy, Dan, what's his name, Morrell. The book is fantastic.
Yeah.
But the movie is just as good as I mean, I read the book first.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, and I was like, I think I was like in third grade or something like that. I was like, I'm gonna read this. Everybody's reading like Dr. Seuss.
Right.
So,
I'm gonna read Rambo.
Yeah, I'm gonna read
First
Rambo.
Blood.
I'm gonna see how it goes. I got it from my dad.
You
I think.
immediately tracked down Frank Stallone.
Yeah, immediately.
Start following him from that day.
I think Frank's in there uncredited somewhere, probably at one of like Teasel's goons or something like that.
Yeah.
He's got to be.
But yeah, I mean, look, I think. Wait, where was I with that point before we segued?
You were talking about the long length of the movie.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
So
I'm
basically,
cutting it.
what he did was, which was pretty interesting. Stallone's like, tell it from more of their perspective, like Teasel and Troutman.
Yeah.
And they were like, make that, and they cut it down to like the 93-minute runtime or whatever it is now, and that's been used as a kind of a format for a lot of action movies from that day forward.
I'm so glad you said that, and that's so cool that Stallone went and did that, because we always talk on the show about the best things about action movies is not the action, it's the moments in between. Yeah. And I think what's so great about First Blood is it finds the perfect balance of the two to make them work. Because you can really only watch... I think if John Wick 2 was John Wick 1, John Wick would not be successful.
No.
Because in John Wick 2, it's just him kicking ass for like 2 hours.
Sure.
You know? And it just doesn't work. You need to have some of that story. So to look at Rambo from the points of view of those two guys is genius. And that makes so much sense. And it's such a subtle little thing that everyone stole for the next 40 years on how to make action movies.
Absolutely.
That's so cool.
100%.
Well, it's really hard if you think about making a sequel. Like, so if you have a trilogy, right, like where you're planning it to be like a trilogy story, it's one thing because you kind of know the beats. You have to take the story to B and then you have to take it to C.
Yeah,
sure.
But if you're trying to make a movie, and whether you're talking comedy or you're talking action or drama, your option to make a sequel is kind of like, okay, you can try to literally make the same exact second thing. You can try to just repeat yourself. So you saw that like 21 Jump Street, 22 Jump Street, they even make jokes about it. It's the same exact movie.
Right.
You know, Born Identity, Born like Supremacy, like they try
Horrible
to...
Bosses 1, Horrible Bosses 2,
Yeah.
Anchorman 2, they do it all the time.
You try, and sometimes it works, and the best case scenario there is people just feel like they aren't as impressed because they're watching the same thing, and that's right. Or you can try to change it. You can try to kind of... Or you can soup it up. And that's like what Rambo 2 does, is it soups it up, same as John Wick 2.
Yeah, it
does.
And for me, it's like, I think you and I have said this so many times, you just made reference to it, it's just not about the action.
No.
It's never really about the action in these movies. Even the best action moments, there's not very many that really endure. Like...
And that's why these movies are so timeless, because what do you expect to happen to action scenes that are 30 years old?
Yeah.
They can't hold up to action scenes that come out in 2017, or else we're failing in entertainment now.
Yeah.
So what makes these movies so great and so iconic is not those fights. It's just like Lethal Weapon. It's not the fight at the end of Lethal Weapon between, Gibson and Busey. That's not why we watch it. It's because of everything else.
It's true. It's Busey's hammer pants.
Busey's hammer pants and his teeth.
It's the white
Officer
sweater.
Murtaugh!
Don't be foolish. Look at the hardware.
All right, so we're going to move on to
Joshua.
star profiles here. Yeah, Joshua. Mr. Joshua. And look at where these guys are at in their career. I'm going to start with Dennehy, because there's a conversation I want to have about Stallone. You guys might be able to help. I didn't know a lot about Dennehy. Dennehy to me is Chris Farley's dad and Tommy Boy a lot of my life.
Me too.
And so in 1979 he did a movie called 10, and then in 80 he did a movie called Little Miss Marker, and in 82 he did a movie called Split Image.
So the funny thing about 10, that stars Bo Derek.
That's
Bo Derek.
yeah, okay.
Yes,
we
Bo
all
Derek
know,
movie. I think he
every
was
boy
her
knows
dad.
that.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
funny because of Tommy Boy, because then she's in Tommy Boy.
Right,
and
and
that's
she's
the
his
joke.
wife.
That's the joke there. I don't even think I've seen 10. Probably just the cover of the box at the video store growing up.
Yeah, true. Same here, I think.
I don't, and I definitely have never seen Little Miss Marker and Split Image.
No. Tell you, he did a John Wayne Gacy movie,
Yeah,
and it was TV, and it was brilliant.
yeah.
Like,
Dennehy,
he killed it.
Dennehy's one of those guys where, like, pretty much I saw this movie and I saw Tommy Boy growing up. So in my mind, I was like, oh yeah, Dennehy's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
But like, and that's all it took. But he's not somebody. If you look through the credits, there's 5 others that we're all missing. He's just one of these guys that worked a lot. He worked a lot, and a lot of these guys, it's kind of like that. You know, the character actor guys that profile like him, your Ray Winstons and your like guys like that. It's like they have to get Beowulf or they have to get The Departed to really stand out. If they don't get those kind of roles, they end up as these guys where they're the supporting character in 14 movies.
And you think that's what Dennehy did with his career?
I just think we just mentioned 2 movies that he stands out because Tommy Boy's a classic and First Blood's a classic.
Yeah.
Kotcheff, Dennehy was his only guy. He was like, I want Brian Dennehy to play his part, and that's it.
Right, because he worked with Kotcheff a couple times. So then on the other side of things, you've got Stallone. And, Nighthawks in 81, Victory in 81, and Rocky 3 in 82.
I haven't seen Victory or Nighthawks.
I've seen Victory.
Nighthawks is great. It's with Billy D. Williams.
Yeah.
And Rucker Hauer, I think.
I just want to say really quick, because I've been so distracted, that there's 50 people in the live chat right now watching, and I'm sure that you have something to do with that. So if you want to say hi to some of our fans out there, I'm sure they'd be very appreciative.
What's up, guys?
Yeah, what's going on, everybody?
We're very happy to have you guys all in the chat.
Yeah, thanks for tuning into the episode. And
Stay sane.
What's crazy is our Schmodown episode literally dropped the second we went live.
It actually did not.
Really?
It's still not up yet. They're having delays, which is even better. So get your asses in
Delays.
the chat. Let everybody know to come watch this. It's just building the hype.
It's not up
They're
yet?
just
It's not
building
up
the
yet.
hype.
Oh, man!
It's probably got something to do with that dope Roca.
God, I love you, Quince Talk. All right, so this is a great conversation for us to have. We do this a lot on our show. It's called Over, Under, Proper, and we're going to properly rate where we think... Oh, you want to do it?
No, I would like to introduce the new name that we talked about using. One of our fans came up with. This is a
Thank God.
segment
We haven't done it yet.
This is a segment we are calling Oversieged, Undersieged, or Properly Sieged.
I like it.
It's pretty good, right?
I like it.
I think it was Paul someone that did it.
Giamatti.
Yeah, it was Paul Giamatti told us.
Yeah, he came in.
I don't know who it was. If you're in the live chat, please take credit. I will search it down and find it. But
With the introduction of Action Army, it's hard to find old comments now.
it's hard to find anything.
So if it was you, shout it out in the chat or whatever. Send us a tweet. We'll shout you out next week on the show. But Oversieged, Undersieged, Properly Sieged, Sylvester Stallone, go.
I want to start with him because he's the biggest fan.
Okay, so basically, overrated. How's it go? Like, how's the format go?
Well, you got to just think
technically?
about his career and how you think about it, and like relative to like the
Whether I
popular-
think it's overrated, underrated, or right on.
Yeah, like if you think that
Okay.
Stallone was utilized
Fair enough.
properly in Hollywood, being such a
Fair
huge
enough.
fan.
how's he regarded now?
That's a tough question.
Yeah.
I am going to say that he's been properly rated.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think some of the movies he's done are not great. He has so much charisma.
Yeah.
And sometimes that supersedes acting ability.
Yes.
He steps on camera and he's just so good, no matter what he does. And you could see him walking down the street, and I've seen him at premieres and restaurants. He just has an aura that's undeniable.
Movie star charisma. We always call
Right,
it.
that's exactly what it is. He's got the it factor.
Yeah.
Rocky, Rambo's. I mean, is he the best actor in the whole world?
Hell no.
No, he's not. Frank might even be better than him, because Frank was great in Barfly, and even in Tombstone he was good.
Who's Frank Stallone playing Tombstone?
He plays the guy, what's his name, Stabs in the beginning. Doc Holliday, Stabs.
Really? He's got the table?
Yeah, that's Frank Stallone with a mustache.
Awesome. That's so awesome.
He plays Ed Bailey? Why
Yeah,
Ed Bailey?
I think that's what. Yeah,
Are we not-
that's what it is.
We're
Yeah,
not friends.
We're not friends.
I think he's proper. I think to go in the question, I think Stallone is properly used, because he's definitely not overrated. There's
Yeah.
no question about that. Underrated? I mean, look, he's had a lot of underrated movies, but I think he's right there. I think he's done all he wanted to do. He doesn't need to be a bigger star. He was the biggest star in the world. He was nothing for a while. He was the biggest star in the world again. Now I think he's floating right in the middle, right where he needs to be. I mean, of course, he's 70 years old, but I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. Do you want to go in?
Yeah, I'm going to directly respond to something you just said. So I want to preface this for a second as saying I'm a huge Stallone fan. I've been a huge Stallone fan my entire life. I got to spend almost an hour with him just recently.
Yeah,
and
I'm so jealous of that.
It was one of the.
That's actually the reason why I'm here.
It was one of the cooler experiences I've ever gotten to have at a party, and it was just fun. I didn't get to say much. I was mostly just listening. He told some funny stories.
It's
and,
because he had movie star charisma.
Yeah.
And you were kind of
Oh,
just
yeah.
like wanted to.
But it was
you know?
Stallone.
Yeah, I know.
It was
I'm
just,
just,
there's
I
a
would have been mesmerized.
a few Hollywood types around, and I was sort of sitting at a table. There's about 5 of us, and he smoked a cigar the whole time, and he just kind of told stories, and it was amazing. But long story short, thinking about Stallone and the way he's regarded right now in Hollywood, the way his brand and the iconography of Stallone, I think I have to say he's overrated.
Wow.
And I'll explain why.
That's fair.
I'll explain exactly why.
Get out! No.
Because I think that there's a sense people have of Stallone, and it exists. There's 3. The first one is the icon. The first one is like Stallone at this point in his career has been around for so long. He's stayed relevant for so long. People think of him as just one of these guys. And that's fair, because to be relevant as long as he is, that means like he's done something right.
He did the work. He put in the work for sure.
It's the other 2 that I think get me a little bit. There's a conversation people like to have a lot about Schwarzenegger versus Stallone in their heyday, right? But the bottom line is, if you really go back and look at it, most of what Stallone made that wasn't a branded film of one of his 2 franchises was pretty bad. He didn't really
Wasn't
do
the best.
very many movies that were any good. So he gets to sort of be in that conversation because of the era that he lived in, but it's just... Even the movies in these 2 franchises we're talking about, I think overall aren't great. Like, I don't like Rambo 3 very much. I don't even really love Rambo 2. I love First
Rambo
Blood.
3 is terrible.
I like 3 of the Rocky movies, I'd say.
Yeah.
So
Fair.
Wait,
Well, 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yeah, you gotta
5.
like all
1, 2, 3,
first
4.
okay, 4 of them. Then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the later ones I don't like.
That is
Creed's
Rocky
not his movie,
Balboa
and-
wasn't
yeah.
really
that's
whatever.
fair.
Creed I like though.
So, and then the last part of it is the acting ability. And this is I think the one that really decides it for me. There's a sense that people have about Stallone that he's like this underappreciated dramatic talent. And Creed is the ultimate like accolade that he got because he got the supporting actor.
And Copland and
he
you
was
know, he's great in that.
he was fantastic in Creed. He
Yeah.
was great.
Great.
I just think that an entire career based on basically this icon persona, this sort of like shoe-in action legend, and this idea that he is this more credible actor than he really is, I think elevates the perception of Stallone a little bit above where it should be. I think it should be a little bit more like he was this action guy who made a couple really great franchises, and he had some pretty good performances, but they were all kind of a similar character because that's what he's good at playing.
Yeah, he's larger than life.
And I think the only reason
on camera and off camera.
the only reason I say overrated is because I just think that there's a sense of him in the world that he is. I think there's a sense of Stallone in the world that he's like one of the 30 or 40 greatest movie stars of all time.
Yeah, if not greatest people of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a tough trying to like critically analyze it. It's a pretty tough space to live in.
yeah,
Right?
totally. And
That's why I didn't go underrated. I went with properly rated. I think that's where he's at.
And I totally see where both you guys are coming from. I understand both your points, but I do have to say that he is properly rated for many reasons. He has earned what he has reaped for the years. He's put in the time. He's put in the work. He wrote those movies. You got to remember that this guy is also a writer, director, producer. You know,
true.
you
Absolutely.
can't take away from someone that you just pigeonhole as an action star when this dude is the Judd Apatow of action stars.
Yeah.
This dude is the Jason Segel of action stars. You don't want me in movies? Fine. I'm going to write my own goddamn movie. It's going to be amazing, and I'm going to star in it.
Right.
It's going to create this amazing franchise. I'm going to be famous for my whole entire life. That's incredible. So you take that and you're like, well, maybe you're overrated then because you just did these things at the beginning of your career, and then you had movies like Rhinestone in the middle of it, and we all make missteps. So then he kind of takes a step back. He like learns his place in Hollywood, and he kind of reassesses what he has to do. He knows that action is good. He does The Expendables, but then he gets a nomination for Creed. And it's
really
one of those
good.
things
Should've
that
won.
I felt was, yeah. I don't know if he should have won or not. I'm not going to say that. But I will say that he was deserved. And it was one of those things that Stallone deserved to be nominated for an Oscar at some point in his career because he's done so much for so
the
many
body of
great
work.
movies.
Yeah.
And it felt appropriate. It didn't feel like an honorary Oscar. It felt appropriate.
He was great.
He was fantastic in that movie. And so I think he's properly rated because he's had such an incredible amount of success, but he's never not put in the work.
It was
And I really respect
He's the
what
hardest
done.
working man in show business.
it was the Rylance here, the Rylance and
Hardy and
that was all those guys.
I think so.
That was actually a pretty stacked year because I just watched Bridge of Spies. Rylance was pretty freaking
Rylance
good.
is fantastic, and I still think Hardy should have won.
Yeah.
But I would have been happy
Probably
with
right.
anyone winning, really.
Yeah, Stallone.
So I will say properly rated because I don't think you can say he's underrated because that dude's just a god in the entertainment
Totally agree.
business.
Yeah,
You know?
Totally
he is.
agree.
He is, and one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. So,
Will you tell the story just real? Will you just say the punchline of the thing about the horses? Just because I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
it's great.
so he's like telling stories about racing the horses, and
Because he's owned horses all over the world.
yeah,
right?
all of his whole life because they were talking about
course he
racing
has.
cars and racing. And,
Yeah.
and he says, I've been around horses my whole life. I've ridden horses, I've raced horses. I've eaten horses. But there's something. Eddie Murphy told me this once. He told me a story. And I never looked at a horse the same way again. He says, don't trust something that can shit and run at the same time. Everybody cracked up.
Great.
And I was
It's
just
brilliant.
like,
And it's not just a punchline. It's like he sets everything up so properly.
Yeah.
Sometimes the dialogue in movies is a little overboard and a little
Yeah.
cheese festy, but it still gets you pumped up.
Yeah,
The
and
guy knows
also
how to tell a story and a joke.
I think if I was sitting at that table, I wouldn't have expected to be that damn funny. at
no,
the end
I
of it,
like, I like legitimately. He told the story and like, you have those moments because we all love movies so much.
Sure.
You have those moments where you sit back and you're like, I was like, oh, that was the moment. I was like, that was the joke. That's
Yeah.
the story. That's the story I'll be able to tell.
That's it.
Yep.
Yeah, it was cool.
He leaves
so-
you with something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. I mean, we live in this industry, and I'm sitting here like begging for you to
Yeah.
tell it live on the show.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
All right, so we're gonna get into production development. I'm probably gonna shut my mouth for most of this because I feel like I'm a little out of my league
With these guys.
with you guys and like who's involved in this movie.
Yeah, so pretty much, I mean, 82, like the 70s and the 80s is a little different as far as the production development stuff goes. There's not as many producers on the movies usually.
Yep.
And also, this point in his career, Stallone, like, he wasn't really like a blue chipper. So this movie sort of like you said, it's 3.5 hours. It was a big project, but this wasn't supposed to be a giant hit. It just happened to be a giant hit.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a lot of people considered for his role. A lot of people. Pacino was considered for the role. I mean, there's like 10
De
of them.
Niro,
Yeah.
James Gardner, Steve McQueen was supposed to play it, but he died.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of other things going on. But
So
It was a great circumstance of everything working out the way it was supposed to, though.
yeah, and you
think
talked
it
a
did.
little bit about the long cut, the first cut of the film. But yeah, the writers on this movie, Sly is one of the writers, and you have Michael Cazole and William Sackheim, and both guys really. They're like, especially Cazole. Cazole like barely wrote anything. He's a guy who like had 12 credits or something. It's the only one that stands
There's
out.
27 drafts of this script.
Yeah, William Sackheim, on the other hand, he was like a notable writer. He won a couple Emmys. He worked in the 50s and 60s and 70s. I should think if we were doing this review in the mid 80s, most of his credits would probably be things that we'd be aware of, just not impressed by. But in this day
All
and
in
age,
the Family, the Jeffersons, and
it's all such a long time ago now that it's just most of what he did is not stuff that I'm even really aware existed. It's not even something where I like see it and I'm like, oh, I've heard of that. What is it?
Right.
Kotcheff, the director on this film, not a like a very, very, very specific director. I think
he
is
did Weekend at Bernie's.
He did Weekend at Bernie's. He did North Dallas 40.
Yeah.
He did 3 years before this.
I love Weekend at Bernie's so much.
I mean, First Blood and Weekend at Bernie's they're virtually the same
like
movie.
basically-
They're the
yeah,
same
it's
movie.
the same story.
Yeah.
North Dallas 40 is sweet too. That movie's good. It's like one of your classic sports movies.
Sure.
And then he ended up working on like hundreds of episodes of Law & Order SVU. He directed like a half dozen and he produced like almost 300 of them.
Yeah.
So
He's not poor.
No. One cool thing is George Miller was asked to direct this movie. And 82, so that's right around the same time as Road Warrior.
That would have been very interesting.
Yeah. And because at that point George Miller had just done Mad Max in '79, so he was really kind of a nobody. This would have been real early in his career. And then the producers on this movie, Mario Casar, Andrew Giovanna, these are guys we've talked about before. They had big careers in the 80s and 90s. Everything from Tombstone, all the Rambo movies, Judge Dredd, Die Hard with a Vengeance, T3, Terminator Salvation.
Wow.
They did a lot of stuff. They were big action guys. They haven't really produced anything for a while now, almost a decade.
Kassar didn't pass away, did he? They
don't-
just separated, right? They just stopped working together?
I think so.
Right.
Yeah, I don't have it written down here.
Yeah, those
but-
were Stallone's guys.
Yeah, he worked with those guys for a long time.
It's so funny
Money
that George
Man.
Miller was supposed to direct this. Like, people were talking in the chat about Kirk Douglas playing Troutman, things like that. It's so interesting.
Yeah, he didn't want to play it because I forget what it was. He wanted Rambo to die at the end, but then they were thinking this might be good enough to. I mean, because when they screened it for international, in the first 40 minutes, the international rights sold immediately. Yeah, and that's where they made their money.
Yeah, the money on this movie is pretty
Yeah, it
impressive
was
as
I think the
well.
13th or 15th highest gross in 1982 or something along those lines.
So before we get entirely into critical and box office, guys, let's answer the question. I think we've all thought about this a little bit. What is the most underrated Sylvester Stallone movie? I think we each probably have an opinion on what the most underrated film is, and I'm going to jump in first with mine this time. I believe the most underrated Sly Stallone movie is Copland. I think...
Agreed.
That's so funny because that was mine too.
Really?
Yeah. Is it yours?
It's not mine.
It's
but
not yours. Okay,
no.
that
I
is
agree with
mine.
you, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's 97. It's James Mangold, directed Logan. It's very walk the line, very notable director. Also, by the way, wrote Oliver and Company.
Who did?
James Mangold.
He wrote Oliver and Company?
He was one of the 3
That's so
writers on
funny.
it. Isn't that bizarre?
Yeah.
The things you learn studying for Schmodown. So James Mangold does this movie in 97, and it's like a stacked cast for the late 90s.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like,
Oh, yeah.
it's like
De Niro,
De Niro, Peter Berg's in there. You got like, what's his name? Who's on my football show on Sundays now?
Voight? Not Voight.
No, it's Harvey Keitel.
Harvey Keitel, yeah.
But it's what's his name? He plays Superboy. He's in the movie.
I haven't seen it in a long
movie?
time.
Michael Rappaport.
Oh, Michael Rappaport. Yeah.
Oh, Rappaport. Oh, that's so funny.
Rappaport's in it. Stallone. I can't think
Stallone
who
put
the
on 40-something pounds for it.
girl is, but Stallone's really good in this movie.
He is.
Yeah.
Plays like a
Yeah.
good schlub.
Oh, Ray Liotta's in this movie.
Yeah.
He's great.
Are
Oh,
you still talking about Copland?
Robert Patrick. Yeah,
Yeah, it's huge, and it's funny. That's what a lot of people have in here too. Copland, Daylight,
Yep.
Cobra, Creed, Demo Man. I mean, mine is Copland, 100%. I went through and looked at his filmography really quickly to make sure I wasn't missing anything, but that's mine. What do you got?
It's a guilty pleasure movie for me, which I think it was great though. I really love the movie Lockup.
Yeah. I knew you were gonna say that. Why
I just
did I know you were gonna say that?
really
Maybe you told me
liked
that
it.
before.
I really,
random.
really like this movie.
89, right?
Yeah, it's a jail movie. The warden has a vendetta against him. He's supposed to be out. throws him in this maximum security facility. And obviously, the warden has his cronies.
Yeah.
They try to do everything to get Frank Leone, which is his name in the movie. They're basically trying to kill him.
Yeah.
And he just keeps taking everybody else out. It's sort of action-y, but it's got a pretty cool story. It's a little far-fetched when it gets to the end here and there, but I thoroughly enjoy it. And it's a thing I always watch.
What's the so there's every person who claims to know a lot about movies. We all have the handful of movies we've never watched before that everybody's like, you haven't seen that? What's the embarrassing Stallone movie you haven't watched? I know what mine is.
I gotta pull it up. Go ahead. What are you guys'?
I've never seen Cobra.
Wow.
I just pulled up, and Cobra's the first thing I saw. I haven't seen Cobra, and I haven't seen Tango and Cash.
Oh, Tango and Cash is great.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
I feel like those are my
great.
two. Over the Top is such
young-
a
Over the Top,
guilty
yeah.
pleasure for me. I love that movie so much.
I had Over the Top as an overrated Stallone movie.
Yeah, it's not
I
very
get that.
good.
It's terrible, and the kid is such a cornball. Like, it's so bad with the kid. I'm like, get this guy out of here. And I get, like, the big guy stuff and, like, the hat turned backwards
Right.
and everybody's doing
Yeah.
this.
It's so stupid.
It's one of my least favorite Stallone movies, surprisingly.
You know what? Just so I don't have to have the same one as you, I really will say Rambo 2008 because I love that movie
Underrated.
so
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
much.
yeah.
Oh, it's
And
fantastic.
no one really watches it, and a lot of people that do, they're like, that movie's gnarly.
We'll probably do it on here eventually.
It's
I think we
pretty-
totally.
Yeah,
we'll
I'll
bring
come
you
back for that
yeah,
for sure.
Totally, man. We'll just have you on for every
uh,
rendition of Rambo.
Mine is Cliffhanger. I've never seen Cliffhanger.
You've never watched Cliffhanger?
No.
we did it on the show, man.
I've never seen it yet.
Dude, Lithgow
Yeah.
is remarkable.
so
I just,
good.
I don't know how it passed me up. I think I was like, what year was it? 90 something?
93, I think.
Yeah,
93. Yeah, dude, I think I know what I was doing, so I don't want to say it.
Cliffhanger is pretty sweet. It's
Yeah.
Lithgow's the best part of that movie. But
Yeah, Lithgow's
I gotta
fantastic.
get it. It's just never on HBO or never. It's not on Netflix. It's like, and it doesn't pop up on TV very often.
Oh, and Ants.
I've
People
seen it.
love him in
Yeah,
Ants.
yeah, yeah.
His voice.
The famous story about Cobra is, you know this about Beverly Hills
yeah.
Cop.
Yeah, of course.
That the script went through so many revisions for the original script for Beverly Hills Cop that eventually that script was used and turned into Cobra.
Yes.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, yeah. It's like one of the old pieces of trivia.
It's pretty great.
So yeah, let's get into critical and box
Yeah,
office.
so moving on, this was produced by Orion Pictures. It cost $15 million to make, and it was originally budgeted $11 million, but the film ultimately cost around $17 million because it ran way over production, which is what you were talking about with why Rocky
That's
3
nothing
got
now.
pushed. Yeah,
They make
exactly.
Rambo First Blood now. It's probably like $700 million.
Yeah, the fact that you started with
Stupid.
11 and then you call your budget 15 on paper, but it was actually 17, like that's a win.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, it was released October 22nd, 1982. It grossed 47 million domestic and an additional 78 worldwide for a grand total of 125 million dollars.
That's fantastic.
In
That's a
1982.
great turnaround.
It's incredible.
Early
It opened-
80s, it's big.
Yeah, it opened at number 1 at 6.6 million, and this is by far the most highly regarded. I don't know why I'm like so distracted by all this stuff. Highly regarded film in the Rambo franchise. It's got a 7.7 on IMDb, which is, I mean, that's awesome.
It made everything. I mean, there's dolls. Once the movie came out, there was knives everywhere. The survival knives made a big comeback.
Yeah, with the empty
with the
handle.
empty thing and the compass on the
Yep,
top of it.
yep.
It's the same thing. It's a do-it-all knife.
I didn't even watch Rambo growing up, and I had one of those. Just 'cause-
Yeah,
and I thought
everybody
he was
did.
so cool.
And the toys came, and the video games came.
Yeah, my mom wouldn't let me.
It's
She would
a
let me.
huge. It's a huge franchise. Still is, I think.
Totally,
Yeah.
and it was just like appealed to everyone because he appealed to everyone because when you're saying all that, those are the things you were buying. I was doing all the Rocky stuff because
Sure.
my mom didn't want me to buy or
Rambo.
didn't want me watching
Sure.
Rambo. Yeah,
Also, Rocky was always like a lot more popular. Rambo
Totally,
was always
much more
the
of a
secondary
family
franchise.
movie.
Yeah.
Right, but everybody wants to go on an adventure. You don't want to,
Right.
go traveling in the woods as Rocky.
Right.
You want to go traveling in the woods as Rambo.
Yeah.
So it got an 87% by all critics, 83% by top critics, and an 85% by the audience. And we're going to do something new today on the show because you're here.
Oh,
And,
cool.
and you're such a good fan of this movie. You know
Yeah.
everything about it. That when Ben and I were watching this, you do compete in the movie trivia Schmodown with us.
I do.
So I thought I'd maybe come up with 5 fun questions for you
Oh, great.
for the movie.
How well do you know First Blood?
Ah, nice. All
Yeah,
right.
you know?
I'm interested in
It's
this.
funny because you've answered all of them throughout the thing.
Yeah.
So the first one is what state does this movie take place in?
Where they really shot it in British Columbia
Where does it take place, though?
In the movie.
was it Oregon?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
That's correct. Ben, you want to do the second one? Or you want me to do it?
What's that? Number 2, what medal is he awarded?
Congressional Medal of Honor.
Is that true?
I don't think so. They don't actually say it. They do talk about the Purple Heart, which you
Purple
did
Heart.
say.
I did say, but
Yeah,
it's a Congressional Medal of Honor as well.
It's true because in the second movie he says it.
Because he just doesn't get one.
And a Congressional Medal of
Yeah.
holy shit.
Which
Yeah.
animal does he encounter when he's trapped in the mines?
In the book, it was a bat. In the movie, it's rats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn it, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
What year was the movie released?
1982.
And if Dennehy sends 200 men to go after Rambo, what do they need to bring?
A shit ton of body bags.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And morphine.
I think our episode went up. We just
Yeah.
went from 65 people in the chat to 35 or 50. So maybe it's
You know, you know what's a very interesting thing? It's you know, in regards to the Schmodown, I'm a very specific trivia question guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like I don't know a director here and there, but if you know which color shirt Rambo had on, you know, when he first went to jail, I know that kind of stuff. So it's like the things I'm good at, I'm really, really good at.
Right.
The things I'm bad at, I don't really give a fuck about. So there's what it is.
God, it's too bad that
Yeah.
you're wasting your time with the Lions Den, man.
Yeah, it's a real
horrible.
shame. It's a real shame.
All right, so I guess we can move on to a normal part of the show. You want to get into favorite lines?
Yeah, let's get into favorite line, guys. This is pretty self-explanatory. Share your favorite line in the chat or tweet it at us. I'm gonna go with my favorite line. It's part of that montage that I mentioned already. The is like attached to my fist bump moment.
Right.
I considered, they drew First Blood, not me. It's obviously a classic. It was always my favorite. But watching it again, I just love when Crenna first shows up and you just hear him off camera.
Oh yeah.
God didn't make Rambo.
Yeah.
I did.
Yep.
And you're like, and right there, you're just like, this guy, this
Yeah.
movie. Oh!
Yeah,
It's great.
That's so true. Mine is also a Crenna line, and it's he goes, "That makes him yours." He goes, "I commanded him in Vietnam for 3 years. I think that makes him mine."
Yeah.
And it was just one of those lines where it's just like, again, Crenna is just the ultimate badass in this
Yep.
movie.
Yeah.
It's
He's
pretty
great.
fantastic. Mine
He's
is
got a great
mine is going back to like what I said earlier, about the my thesis, which is the real depiction of how Americans were treated. Here it is. Back there I could fly a gunship. I could drive a tank. I was in charge of $1 million equipment. Back here I can't even hold a job parking cars.
Yeah.
Parking cars. It's the truth. I mean, I think ultimately when these guys come back, they can't get real jobs. And you see, you go up Sepulveda and Wilshire by the veterans place over there. There's 10, 15 homeless guys, all Vietnam War vets.
Yeah, and this is 35 years later.
Yeah, and it's a terrible thing. So that's why I really love this movie. It's not just because of Stallone in this movie. It's just because it was real and it was depicted properly. A lot of movies can't do that no more.
Yeah.
And that's the line that stood out to me. I mean, obviously Rambo didn't have that many lines in the movie as a whole. Hey, why do I have to go here? Stop pushing me. I'll give you a war you never forget. I mean, there's a lot of great lines in there. But this is the one that stood out, and this is the one I think broke him down. He's like, I came here, I want to not kill anybody, but he's a machine. He belongs right where he is, and in wartime, and stay there until you die because he's not fit. He's basically institutionalized as a killing machine. Be a cop or not be a cop. I mean, he can't. They wouldn't give it to him because he looks like a dirtbag. Back then, cops had short hair and stupid mustaches. Stole money from drug dealers and things like that. But at this point, I think you put him fixing planes or something and let him live out his days, sort of like they had him in that rock quarry in the start of 2.
Yeah, it's definitely a great line, and that moment at the end we talked about before the show started. That last 30 minutes is what really, really brings this movie to an action drama. And to talk about Stallone and his acting chops during that, they're not the greatest in the world, but they are sufficient enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
And especially with what's going on and the time and all that, if you can take your mind there, it's really, really powerful. And that's why I'm so glad you're on the show today, is because we do make a lot of jokes. And we really do enjoy this movie, but you respect it at a different level. And I think it's a really important thing to be brought to people's attention when watching this film.
Yeah.
As it speaks on things more. This is not an action movie. This talks about a fucked up thing that happened in our history as a country.
Yep,
absolutely. And it's really fun. It's like when another one of my favorite lines is when he's like, "It's over, Johnny." He's like, "Nothing is over."
Yeah. Nothing's over.
It really ain't over for him.
Yeah.
Like he's gonna live that life, and he's gonna see that thing play over again, where his friend's body parts blew across the room. That's on his mind for the rest of his life.
And that's real shit.
Yeah, I mean, the beginning of the movie, he went to see his last buddy, the last one living, Delmar Barry.
Yeah.
See, I didn't even know the names of like the troops. I mean, it's just there's a lot of. I know too much about this movie.
That was a good moment too at the beginning when he shows up pictures. There's
Danforth and Whitmore and they were all like production supervisors on the movie.
He's so big in the back. Look how big he is.
Yeah, look how big he is. And he's like, can't trade him to the bone. He was sticking to the bed. He was like, really? then he had nowhere to go because I mean he was basically going to like hang out with him and start something and try to get a new life going.
Yeah.
And now he knows nobody.
Right.
You know, so it sucks, and they wrote him, and he gave him a war they will never forget.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
And he destroys people in this
no,
movie. It
he
is
just
incredible.
totally complete and utter killing
The
machine.
amount of moments where he just comes out of like the ground and the trees
Yeah.
and just kills someone, you're just like, yeah.
Yeah, he'd come in here and like
He's in here.
Yeah,
He's in here right now.
Yeah.
It does, in a lot of ways, actually feel like a lot of what they wanted the guys to feel like in the coolness in Predator and Schwarzenegger, they definitely like lift some of that from him. He's
Oh,
yeah.
because it's
Oh,
all
yeah.
before Predator, and I definitely
Sure.
think that they
Sure.
And he's never cool in this. He's not
No.
ever trying to be cool. He's
No.
not
No.
cool. He's very vulnerable.
He's just trying to live.
Yeah.
People are trying to kill him on a consistent basis.
Totally. All right, let's talk about the last bit of the show, and that's gonna be there are 3 action movie categories. This is actually an interesting one. There are 3 categories on the show, guys. Totally ridiculous, totally legitimate, and ridiculously legitimate. Totally legit movies are gonna be like Lone Survivor and Terminator 2 and The Fugitive. They're very dramatic. They hold together well. They never really fall apart. There's no unintentional laughs. Totally ridiculous are movies like Demolition Man and Face Off, Con Air. They're silly, they're awesome, but they do kind of fall apart a little bit. And you have the ones right in the middle, ridiculously legitimate movies like Point Break and Predator and what else am I missing here? They're movies. They're really movies that feel like overall they're awesome. They're driven by at least one really legitimate principle, like a great performance
or a great story, or
but maybe there's a few things here and there that they're campy or you miss the mark a little bit. And
Right. Or just a cheap joke surfs up or
Yeah.
something stupid like that. There's none of that in Rambo, that's for sure.
I think this movie is ridiculously legitimate. I put it in the middle category because it's almost there, but it, like I said, going back, I remembered this movie as being a straight drama that people characterize as an action movie, and watching it, it was a little bit more in the middle. It definitely had some of the cliche action moments. They were awesome, but
Sure.
it falls in that middle category for me.
everyone disagrees with you in the chat.
All legit.
They are all saying legit. What do you say, man?
Oh, 100% legit. I think everything is real in this. Like, it's the Michael Bay movies. I like Con Air. I like The Rock and things. And yes, there's room for jokes here and there, but there is no room for joking in this movie. I mean, Troutman says, make stuff that, eat a billy goat, puke or whatever. It's funny, but it's true.
But it's true.
Right.
Yeah, and it's like this guy was doing this kind of stuff, like eating roaches and dirty water and whatever he was doing. Like, I think this movie pulled no punches, and neither did the book. I think they stayed pretty true to it, minus like Rambo. Like, I don't want to ruin the book if somebody wants to read it, but it was different endings.
Yeah.
You know, and I think this was a terrific movie from start to finish, man. Well done, and I thought it should have been Oscar nominated for sure.
What about you?
Totally, man. I mean, I think with my memory, I would have said totally ridiculous. And then going in and learning about it and watching it, I'd be like, oh, okay, it's ridiculous, legitimate. But if you think about watching this movie when I watched it with you and like the feelings that I had during it, there were not very many moments of like it feeling illegitimate. And if there were, it was mainly just because of things they couldn't help, like the time.
Yeah.
And then also like me being kind of critical as an actor on Stallone at the very end.
Yeah.
But again, I think he did a great job.
Right.
And so I truly believe that this film was ridiculously legitimate before I watched it. And after watching it in our discussion today, I'm 100% convinced it's totally legit.
Interesting. It's just this. It's the little stuff. It's the action movie cliches, like
Yeah, totally.
Caruso being the only guy who's like, "Do you guys know who you're dealing with here?"
And the things that Crenna says are so over the top, but it's
Yeah.
like the first time it was done.
Yeah.
So I have to give it a little bit of credit. So
Yeah.
I get where you guys are at. Totally legit for me.
And then they had the
Interesting.
volunteer National Guard come in. They were
right.
They had a couple of jokes here and there, but
Yep. All right,
there
guys.
was no joking with Rambo.
There's only one last thing left to do on the show here, and that's going to be called The Pitch. Yeah, big time. Didn't see that coming. And guys, we posted the schedule on the Action Movie Anatomy fan page on Facebook, which you can go find. That's almost at 700 people, which is awesome. You guys have been very active in there.
We love you all.
Yeah, and we posted the schedule for the next few weeks. We've got Wind River next week, which we weren't going to do, but I saw Wind River about a month ago. I thought it was amazing. People have been talking a lot about it. It's got Renner in it. It's
Olsen.
Yeah, it's the third movie, Sicario, Hell or High Water, and this one, it's the Tyler Sheridan trilogy. Very, very good movie. After that, guys, we are going to be doing Kingsman, Golden Circle, and the following week we'll be doing American Freaking Made. Cruise, back in the building.
I am really looking forward to that.
Me too, man. It's a really
I love
exciting
Cruise,
month.
and I love like when guys like drive planes and for
Yeah.
money and cocaine and stuff like that. It's pretty great.
And Cruise doing it's going to be great.
Yeah.
Dude, thanks so much for coming on today. You were such
man.
a treat, and I know that we joke around a lot on the Schmodown, but
Yeah,
you've
man,
been
it's
a good
a pleasure.
friend of ours for years, and
Yeah.
Crushed today, man.
Yeah,
Thank you so much
for coming.
Absolutely a pleasure.
And guys, as always, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. If you want to follow along with us, you can find me at Ben Bateman Media.
You guys can find me at Andrew Ghai.
At Bob Finstock across the board.
And go watch our Schmodown match, guys. It's posted, like, literally, it's up now while we were doing the show. Go watch it. Check it out. Comment, whatever. Share your thoughts there. We're excited to hear what you guys have to say about that, and we will talk to you same time, same place next week.
Bye.
Yep.
Producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.